wanted to ask you. We left off at a place last week where I wasn't sure if we were out of time or kind of running a little bit towards the end of our the time we set aside for this, and so I was curious. Leaving that, and I went to ask you, and said, hold off. Let's have this conversation on air. So let's have it on air.
All right.
We were meditating, and you reflected or gave the reflection on the way out of here that you had just gotten to this pinhole.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that? Expand on that.
I'm glad you asked that because
I'm curious.
I figured it might be something that obviously people have seen before that's, probably normal when you meditate. But also part of me was like, do I sound crazy here? So I think you and I did discuss it more off air afterwards a little bit, and you kind of made me feel a little bit better about seeing these pinholes, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
no, so
let's go back into it, and we'll go a little further because we didn't go very far.
When I described a pinhole, it's like obviously when you're meditating, you do have a sense of blankness if you can get there, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's like levels to the blankness essentially, right? And then it's like I feel like you're constantly searching for more and more darkness in a sense, right? Or nothingness, clarity, I guess, right? And and the more I really started this more when you were telling me to concentrate on my breathing. Because the more I concentrated on my breathing, the more almost like zeroed in I got because I was focusing. Your breath comes more from the middle, your nose and your mouth. So you're kind of like not getting cross-eyed in your mind, but you're kind of zeroing in.
You kind of put on horse blinders to things.
Yeah, you're getting in tunnel vision in your own mind, which is where I think the pinhole appeared is because I was zeroing so much in on a tunnel that things were kind of getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And not every time, but a lot of times I do zero in and see these little pinholes. And like, sometimes I like trying to travel into the pinhole. Right. And I think you even mentioned that you've actually got in the pinhole before, right? There's got to be a whole new world in that pinhole.
What I remember of the conversation is kind of where we ended it was, I'd encourage you to go through that pinhole.
Yeah.
Try and travel through the pinhole and see what that would look like.
I can't even imagine what's in there. I mean, it's got to be just a whole new level of clarity. Like it's a whole new world, right?
So you're not crazy. This is something that I've experienced and many other people I've talked to have experienced in meditation.
Okay.
And what some people refer to it as, and where I might land, is you're going into your mind's eye. You're starting to see through your mind's eye.
Yeah.
On the other side
pineal
of that,
gland, right? The pineal gland. Yeah.
And that's the seat of consciousness, perhaps, according to many ancient and modern traditions. Yeah. And so what's on the other end of that? What's through that pinhole? A whole new world. You name it. That could be emptiness and just peaceful black nothingness. It could just, everything fall away.
Yeah.
And to touch on that, and why I often or almost all the time start with breath work in my meditations, unless I feel like I'm going right there and just zooming out.
Yeah.
That's what I call it zooming out. You're really zooming into your innards, and from there, anyway. The breath work, focusing on that breath work, focusing on that narrow point of attention. For me, who has ADHD, ADD, and many others who have a really hyperactive mind, those things tend to fall away. Those other thoughts will tend to fall away. Otherwise, chatter still comes in.
Yeah.
Ideas, thoughts still ping at you all the time. Our brains are these energetic things just firing away.
Yeah.
And so focusing on the breath, counting is just a way to give your mind something really, intentional to focus on and keep the other distractions at bay.
Yeah.
With that, you can get a little rhythm. Time kind of dilates and slows down, and maybe perhaps you see a pinhole.
Yeah.
A doorway to travel through.
Yeah.
Have you ever made it through there?
I haven't. That's what I was saying. I haven't made it in the pit.
Okay.
I've made it through bigger tunnels before, but never like that. That pinhole is like something that's like almost like that distant star.
Yeah.
That's just standing there. It's like, man, I really want to try to get in there. It's like, it's like seeing a landmark that you're trying to walk to or get to, but it's like, you never can quite get to it. It's almost like a dream a little bit. How you're dreaming sometimes, and you're running from something or you're running to something, and then you always wake up before you get to that thing, which is most dreams. I find that. But I'll tell you what's really weird. You mentioned opening doorways, right? And I have, like probably many people from our generation, have traveled into doorways or trails from a lot of the extracurricular activities that we used to partake in many, many years ago. But the meditation has almost created a way to do that in a natural sense. In a natural, very similar, concepts of vision and, foreground, horizon, the depth, basically perception there is.
Time can dilate perspectives and things show up that in a creative way that may not have shown up in normal everyday life as we're being really linear with our tasks.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I've zoned in, plenty of times. I think I was telling you, one time I was in a hot tub hanging out on a ski trip with a bunch of my friends, we're just hanging out and having a good time, partaking in drinks and other stuff, and just having fun. And I remember zeroing in on like this house in the distance. It was like this broken down, dilapidated like chalet that was near ours, but it was probably 5 or 6 houses over, maybe more. And I zeroed in so much on this setting because it was so beautiful. I mean, we're in this hot tub. It's, ice cold. It's snowing. So I'm getting that, I'm getting that hot and cold contrast that's just providing this,
contrast.
Amazing electrical experience. And it's just allowing me to just zone in on this, almost following this trail, but my eyes are wide open. And it was weird because I zeroed in so much that somehow with my eyes open, I had created this image that I was, and legitimately felt like I was in my aunt's old kitchen. I mean, I could see the doorway, I could see everything. And I mean, I was, stuck in that place, that vision for, it felt like 5 hours, but it was probably about 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I mean, and I, I really was going through like, old memories. Old memories were like, I felt like they were circulating through my vision at that point. So I could like see my cousin walk through the door. I could see my aunt in the kitchen, all those things. It was incredible. And until I really started, becoming better at meditation, because I've always tried to meditate, and I can't sit there and say I practice all the time. But since you and I have started doing it more, and you've told me to focus on breathing and things like that, it's allowed me to really find those visions in those places in a more natural sense. And it's the visions, there's not things I'm looking at, right? So it's easier when your eyes are open to maybe zero in and kind of find some imagery from just things when your eyes are open. But when your eyes are closed and you have a set of, almost blankness, and you can put those visions there with nothing in front of you, it's a whole nother experience. And in my opinion, I think you're traveling into space to some degree. I really believe that. I really
there are
think
people who believe that.
I legitimately
It may be true.
I legitimately believe that you travel.
Well, the Army and the CIA spend millions of dollars on what you just talked about, and it's called remote viewing. The Stargate program.
Really? Explain
the
this to me.
Gateway Project.
Get into this. I got to hear about this. Okay.
So I don't know how far back it goes. I think the recordings and stuff that I've come across started somewhere in the 60s, and it was most prevalent in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
They apparently discontinued this program that's in air quotes for anybody not watching. The program in 1992. Did they discontinue it, or did they just call it a different name? Did it go underground? I don't know. The Army, in short, I'll try and keep it to bullet points here. The Army started using these psychics. I think there's the documentary on Netflix right now called Psychic Spies.
Okay.
If anybody wanted to go watch it. The most prevalent or most famous in media was Ingo Swann. He was a famous artist in New York City at the time in the 70s. And he could drop his consciousness into a place on a map, as could any of these other remote viewers. And the claim is that they can teach anybody to do this, you and me as well, that we all have these abilities. Yet there are some people with natural abilities or abilities that are a little more, like the guy that can throw a 103 mile an hour fastball down the center, the plate. Not many people on this planet can do that. But so it's like remote viewing, there's a few that have some, abilities beyond the normal everyday person. And Ingo Swann was apparently one of those, as was Dr. Joe McGonigal.
Okay.
He recently did a 6-hour podcast on Sean Ryan's show last year,
really?
Talking about this. They took principles taught by the Monroe Institute, which is still open to this day, up in upstate New York.
Okay.
Founded by Dr. Monroe, teaching you, me, everyday people, or those with abilities, how to enhance them.
Okay.
They would give coordinates, so longitude and latitude of some, say, Russian military base that they were somewhat aware of, could get a grainy image from these satellites in 1975 or whatever during the Cold War.
And this is on Netflix?
Yep.
Okay.
And so Dr. Joe McGonigal, Ingo Swann, any of these other psychic spies would take the coordinates and drop in there. And they would all sketch out what they would see.
Yeah.
Big satellites, maybe heavy operating cranes, moving military equipment, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to this day, now they say that the program doesn't exist anymore, yet they allotted, I think their budget was roughly $30 million a year. So, it makes you question if the CIA, the Army, and the federal government were, along with the Monroe Institute, were in on something like this, spending millions and millions of dollars for decades. Why wouldn't it be true?
Yeah.
How could it not be true? Now, this comes on the heels of them launching this program comes on the heels of them learning, apparently, allegedly, that the Russians already had a system going of psychic spies.
Really?
Their technique's a little different. They use these Faraday cages. You can go Google this. The Y-Files on YouTube channel has a couple of videos talking about this.
So you're talking about, so you're talking about them being able to transfer, or I guess be able to teleport their consciousness.
Remote view, so
and they can absorb the energy in a sense, or
they place their energy into a place and then they can see it, watching it like your hands.
So they can actually see this. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
With their mind's eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
if energy is all connecting everything, then why couldn't we travel through this invisible circuit? Is the theory.
100%. Yeah.
To this place, and even in time, if the multiverse, if quantum mechanics and modern physics are leading us down a path that, if this is true, there's got to be multiple dimensions of reality, multiple universes of this reality. So everything you think, create, even if you don't live it out, it's being lived out elsewhere. Why could you not drop your consciousness in and check on it?
You're right, yeah.
Is the theory here. So I don't have an experience with that myself other than researching it, being intrigued by it, seeing the government spend millions on it, these institutes, these people claiming it being real. Why it hasn't been talked about in the mainstream media or public is because it's too woo-woo and it's taboo and, everybody's down here doing their thing.
It's funny you mentioned consciousness, because this is something that I've been want to talk about for a while. But and obviously you've probably, at least if not read some of Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity. I
know what the Singularity is, and we may be in it right now.
Yeah,
it may have passed. We don't know it.
Well, they say that I think 2036 is supposedly the year for the most, which is 10 years from now, which is supposed to be the most rapidly advanced period of technology in the history of human existence. Like, that's supposed to be like the peak, apparently. But Kurzweil, and then there was a movie I think Johnny Depp was in, which I never watched. But anyhow, where I was going with this is one of the things that they talked about in the book and the movie was more based around was how you're going to be able to take somebody's consciousness and essentially download it into a computer so the consciousness can live on separate from the body. But my opinion on that is like, even if you take somebody's consciousness,
how do you contain consciousness?
Exactly. Like, how are they even aware? Like, if you remove, like, how are you even aware of your own consciousness? Like, especially if you remove, like, the soul, because to me, the soul is your recognition of consciousness, right? So without the soul, without yourself, like how would you even be aware of your own consciousness?
So your soul and consciousness are two separate things?
I feel like it, yeah. Or yes, I feel like your soul, I feel like, how would you be aware of your own consciousness? Like, how are you aware of your own consciousness? Like if I took my
I don't think so. Okay, go ahead.
If I took my consciousness out of my body and I put it in, I don't know, server, whatever. I put it in a digital robot, and then my body, I no longer existed. Like, okay, so this thing might be, how will my consciousness survive without
I just
body?
don't see how any of that's possible.
That's what I'm saying. I think when you take the soul away, well, that's what they're saying. That's what the movie was based on. That's what Ray Kurzweil predicts. And that's my thing is if you,
I need to learn up on that.
Yeah, I think you need the soul to make you aware of your own consciousness. Does that make any sense? Like, how are you aware of your own consciousness? That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't see it that way.
How do you see it?
Your awareness is you.
Yeah.
That's the sage self. That's your higher self. That's your consciousness.
Yeah.
Your recognition of how you may act, behave, something you did,
Yeah.
how you're feeling, that's your ego.
Yeah.
That's your lower self.
Okay.
That always exists. That's for protection.
Yeah.
That serves us well a lot of times, and there's a lot of times it doesn't serve us well.
Yeah.
The awareness of self, that's your higher self. That's the sage self. That's your consciousness, your super consciousness, your super ego.
Yeah.
If kind of Jungian, and I'm not totally educated on that yet, the awareness is you.
Yeah.
The awareness that, I don't like how I, talk to my friend, or, this is something I would think, I don't like how I behave then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, man, I was really reflexive, reactive.
Mm-hmm.
I acted out of fear, out of anger, out of fear I was going to look bad, or hurt their feelings, or say too much, or say too little, or whatever the case may be. The awareness of that, of studying that, is my consciousness, that's me. That's my connection to source, to God.
Yeah.
The ego, and I got this from, I think it was Dr. Wayne Dyer, and maybe Neville, it came from Neville. The ego stands for edging God out. So anytime the ego shows up, God's source is kind of edged out, because the ego is not that.
Yeah.
And so I think soul and consciousness are the same.
Okay. And that's fair. Like that's
there's no way to contain it. For us as humans to think we can contain consciousness is probably the biggest form of ego.
Well, technically your soul is contained within this body.
I think
For the time being.
No, I think the soul animates the body.
Okay. That's very fair. Yeah. I get it.
I think the body is the instrument for which the soul operates through this world.
Yeah.
This is my vehicle for my soul.
Well, that's your vehicle for your
soul.
That's what I was saying. Could you move, because we've always talked about this, like you're just traveling in a meat suit,
I think
right?
we're connected to source.
Could you transfer that soul into another being? Because right now we're riding in this, so where does that soul go?
I think it's the soul's decision, and it's our ego, our lower self here, saying we can control our higher self. Yeah. Man plans, God laughs.
Yeah.
And so I think that is where science has gone wrong, and science has become God to a lot of people. If science has the science, the facts, the science. Well, the science has led us to a pretty dystopian society right now.
So basically,
and science is typically proven wrong. That's the thing about science; it's always proven wrong.
So basically, the consciousness that they would be talking about transferring would be some sort of artificial consciousness.
I think it's a.
I'm just trying to understand how they came up with this theory.
It's a science fiction book.
Yeah.
So it's not reality. It hasn't happened yet. It's just somebody's belief structure.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it true.
No, I get that.
I don't think that. So my belief structure is that you can't transfer consciousness because it's connected to source.
Yeah.
And to think that we can do so is pretty naive, and I think it sets up and makes for a great science fiction novel.
You and I are on the same page. I think we're just saying it two different ways. Like, I don't think that how are you aware of your own consciousness without the soul being able to recognize it? But you're going one step further and saying that
not everybody's aware of their.
That is very true.
What about?
But I'm saying, you're saying that the soul and the conscious are one, and I'm saying they're separated. But technically, I think we're on the same page.
Different religions and different spiritual beliefs call them different things, and yet they're oftentimes, if you dig deep enough for understanding, they're saying the same thing.
We're on the same page.
Very similar.
You wouldn't be able to know that you were aware without your soul, essentially, because it's not you. It's not you in
becoming aware.
Yeah.
I think is the whole purpose to this
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Is to realize it's a spiritual one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
I love how you talked about connected to source.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great. I like that.
Well, what makes you smile about that? I just you lit up
because I'm with you. Like no matter what, I think everybody, not everybody, but I believe there is definitely a source somewhere, and that determines where that soul or that consciousness is going to travel next.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that man can actually make that decision and, place that soul or consciousness into something else without the soul being able to decide is pretty impressive.
It's like saying we're God.
Yeah, it's like, exactly, right? And that's the thing.
And we're made in God's image if you follow that scripture.
Well, technically our soul is God. Our soul is God.
Yeah.
Because if our soul gets to decide and you think God gets to decide, then, I personally think everybody is God. Everybody has God running through them to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
I think
maybe with a little G.
I think we're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody is connected to some.
Dr. Nassim Haram, there's a great documentary on this called The Connected Universe.
Yeah.
For my science friends out there, go check it out. It's free, I think, on YouTube. I shared it with somebody the other day.
That's why I don't like, when people just automatically attack somebody else, because I'm like, when you're attacking somebody else, you're attacking yourself. Mm-hmm. We're all one. There's really no difference between that, billionaire and that, panhandler on the street. We're all connected and to me in this.
God made us all.
Yeah.
How, with free will, some people chose this path, others chose that path, and most in between, right?
Yeah.
I like how you said that, though, that to criticize someone else is to criticize yourself, or to say that God got it wrong.
Or to say God got it wrong.
Then you're criticizing God. That's Dr. Bruce Snyder from Relax Your Heart.
That's exactly where I am with the whole gender identity situation, right? If you're saying that God is, because most of the people who don't believe in the gender identity or are against it, in my opinion, they're acknowledging that God got it wrong. Because, okay, God might have given this person this body, but God also gave that person that mind, or the nurture that led to the mind, going in the direction it went. And that's why I have a hard time with believing that, the Christian, not all Christian views, but a lot of the Christian views that, transgenders and gays and everything don't go to heaven. That's, in my opinion, bullshit. I don't want to go to that direction, but I think it's bullshit. I just do. I can't sit here in good conscience knowing how Jesus was, or at least reading how Jesus was, thinking that he wouldn't be accepting of those people. And also, I'm not going to say God got it wrong. I think there's a way to stop all of the infighting on that very easily. I think you just got to have there's biological gender and there's psychological gender, and that's it. What's your biological gender? That's fine. What's your psychological gender? Okay, that's fine, and we can all move on.
What if the infighting, as nasty as it looks right now, begot understanding, and compassion, and peaceful times afterwards, whether it be infighting on the gender issue or on something else. So
no, it's necessary.
We agree on this.
Yes, 100% necessary.
But somebody might argue, this ugliness, that can't be God. God's not ugly like that. No, God's all loving and encompassing and will love you regardless of. Well, that doesn't mean go do it. It doesn't mean be that way. And if somebody is that way, maybe it had to be that way for a reason.
Yeah.
So that the corner can be rounded.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think a lot of what we're going through right now is definitely necessary infighting, and I think there's
everybody's airing it out.
Yeah,
everybody's airing it out. That's how it looks to me. Is everybody's getting, on a world scale, whether it's the protests in this foreign country, that one, or in our own country. Everybody that's held back their opinions or the varying opinions, everybody's just airing it out now.
Yeah,
it's hey, let's. And sometimes it's shouting or it's through violent means, right? It will temper eventually.
Yeah.
all things shall pass, and that's it.
Well, speaking of that, I think we can kind of get further into the conversation today. Actually leads us well into where I kind of wanted to go, or we wanted to go, I think, with the conversation. Before we go there, though, I do want to remind you that you guys are listening to the Tree Your Mind podcast with myself, Matt Trader, and Wayne Smith. So hope you guys are listening. And also remember that at the end of every episode, Wayne is going to lead us into some meditation, and we hope that gets you in a little better headspace to go about your days. But anyhow, so we're talking about the infighting. We're talking about all the chaos. I think we were going in that direction anyhow. That's in the world today. We're both dads, parents. How do you think that what do you think is necessary to bring a kid up in today's environment to help them survive the world we live in today? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit last week, but we didn't get too far into it.
Well, I mean, big topic, big question here, important one too.
Yeah.
So thank you for asking. What's important for bringing a kid up in a world today? Oh man, probably a lot of things. Is there one thing that stands out? And I'm no therapist or expert on this subject.
Well, no, you're pretty good.
It's love and unconditional love and support as a dad of a little girl. That's her happiness is probably most important to me, and really just joy.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you? Is there something that stands out to you?
Well, it was funny because last week, we got on the subject of more and how cliche it is for everybody to say, "Oh, I want more for my kids."
Yeah. I've asked that question to a few people, and a few friends have said more.
And I think
more what?
I'm sure people do mean more, but the more I thought about it, I think more, at least from my perspective, means better. I want them to be better than I was, right? Or better. I want them, to be. Yeah. But to be honest with you, and from my perspective, I don't think more equates to better or making them better than me. I actually think less.
And what is better?
I actually think less. Right? You're right. You're right. What is better is very.
These are questions I ask myself.
That's a whole good. That's a question.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. But anyhow, so I think from my perspective, I think that giving these kids less sometimes and is actually more, especially in today's world. And I'll go by example. So most parents, I think today, feel like they have to hover over their kids. From anything, homework, you're doing homework, everything, you have to organize all of their sports. And I think that's the wrong approach in a lot of ways. I know, don't get me wrong. I mean, we're as guilty of it as everybody. We want to sit down, we want to make sure our kids are getting the homework done and all that stuff. But I think you almost need to take a step back in some degree and let them take ownership of their own work. Because if you're always there,
accountable.
Yeah, hold them accountable, be accountable. Like, I'll give you an example. So one of the first weeks of school, my son's in middle school now. So one of the very first weeks of school, he has definitions he has to write for each word. So he gets the words. I say, I got to write these definitions for each word. I'm like, all right, we'll get your book out and write the definitions. He's like, well, I don't have my book. I'm like, well, how are you going to write the definitions if you don't have the book? He's like, well, I think they want me to look it up. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I'm like, you think they want you to look it up, or do they want you to look it up? Because you can look up the definition of a word, but the definition I might look up on Google is going to be different than what's in that book, and a test is going to be based on what's in that book. Mm-hmm. So my thing was like, look, dude, here's the deal. Get on the phone, call your little buddy, call whoever, and figure it out. Well, I don't have a phone. I'm like, get on Fortnite then. Get on something, go dialogue. You go figure out how to solve this problem for yourself. Mm-hmm. And to me, that exercise was way more valuable than him even getting the definitions of the word. Mm-hmm. Because it's him taking ownership, him figuring it out, solving the problem, socially, politically, however.
How'd he do?
Well, of course, the moms. No offense, because the moms are fantastic. I'm gonna tell you right now. Like, I don't know what the world would do without, the moms. Like, they're amazing. But the moms have a little text group. So Jen comes and says, oh, such and such text such and such. And they're doing what they feel like good moms should be doing. But my point was I think it would have been more valuable if those kids got together and they figured it out. They phoned a friend instead of the moms running and saying, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. We're figuring too much stuff out for these kids when we need to let them learn by experience.
And what happens when mom's not around?
Exactly. And another thing is I think social skills are so important, and in learning how to politic in a way is, and I hate to use that word because I really hate that word, but you have to do it. For example, another example is our kids have a lot of homework. They do, both of them do, and both play basketball, both play sports. So they come home, they have a lot of homework. They have basketball they have to go to. They come home one day. Monroe's like super burnout. Like he's just like, man, I've been to school all day. I've been doing my homework. I had to stop, go to basketball, come back. He's like, and I still have all this to do. I said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Don't do it. He's like, what? I said, I don't want you to do that. I want you instead, what I want you to do, okay? You don't have to finish your homework tonight. If you do this for me tomorrow, I want you to go to your teacher and I want you to explain to her, look, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I had this going on, I had that going on, can I get a little more time? Can I move my deadline to get a little more time on this? Because I had a lot going on yesterday. And I think teaching them to take ownership of that and teaching them how to move those deadlines themselves is way more important than the work they're doing. Because when you get older and you get in our positions, you're going to have to move deadlines. You're going to have to move things around, and you're going to have to find legitimate reasons why, right? So I think the accountability and taking ownership of your work is every bit as important as the work you're actually doing yourself. And I think it teaches them a lot larger life scale than, if they can do, 5.5 times, X, Y, and Z or whatever. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think social skills, accountability, ownership, very, very important in today's world. I don't know if I'm on the right track, but that's just, my thought. So.
Yeah. No, they're all admirable things. I think they're great skills and life skills that have served us well, or other people that we've noticed or taken note of. And so what was the outcome of that?
The outcome's been great because he has been communicating with his teachers. And he knows to do that. And then we talk to the teachers and look, if you come to our house, our kids are they're great kids, but they're like most kids. They're far from perfect. But we talk to our teachers and they do talk about how much they show that they care about their work, how much they take ownership of their work. Their grades might not always reflect it. But it's like I tell them, if you just show somebody you care, that's every bit as important as the results. It's just like real estate, right? One of the reasons that I'm sure both of us, became successful in real estate is I was willing to answer the call when a lot of other realtors weren't. I was willing to call them and deliver bad news when a lot of other realtors weren't. And that communication, I think, brings you, far in life. And that ownership and that accountability of, look, I'm sorry, I just couldn't get this done, but I was busting my ass to do it here. Can I get a little more time? I don't know. Can you help me with this? Show that you care. And I think that goes a long way in building, furthering the relationship with the people that are going to help you build the tools that you need to succeed in life, like a teacher, like a broker, or whoever else, whoever else, But I don't know. No? Yes? What do you think?
I wonder. So this is someone who,
you can ding me up if I'm wrong.
No, I agree with I agree with a lot of what you said, and especially the qualities of bringing them up, with communication. Communication is the lubrication to getting anything done. Yeah. Conflict avoidance, getting a deal done. Yeah. Communicating with your son, your wife, your anybody, your friend.
Yeah.
So, being accountable.
Yeah.
I don't think from my perspective the world is accountable right now to its actions, to how we got to where we are on an individual and a global scale. Tribal, whether it's community state or nation state, or is on a global scale. with all that said and all those things that I agree with you on, and as someone who had a book bag busting at the seams all through, I was a maggot kid.
Yeah.
I was a maggot, maggot kid. And took home an obscene amount of homework all through my childhood and majority of high school until I said, I was fine getting B's.
That's all right. Yeah.
and that was fine. I got into college my senior year. I was like, okay, we're gonna just coast here and have some fun, and I did. And so I wonder, and this will take me. I'll share a little bit about where my daughter goes to school.
Yeah,
and with all that in mind, understanding what you just shared is the reality of a lot of kids these days. Talking to some teacher friends, one who happens to be a principal, and I won't name her name. And they both went through the magnet program, and some other friends of mine that went through the program that shared how they don't believe that program was the end all be all.
Yeah.
And in fact, that they're steering their kids away from something like that now. Mm-hmm. And that's what we ended up doing. So my question is what's the point of all this homework? And I ask that because, like you, when I answered the call at 8, 9 o'clock at night for a client, I traded that. There's an opportunity cost of, time with your friend or undivided time with your wife or with your kids. I didn't have kids at the time. And so, or just your sanity.
Yeah.
You're just trying to unplug for that one Tuesday night throughout the week. And you can watch a movie and this one client starts blowing you up because it's hot on their mind as they're laying in bed at 9 o'clock at night. There's no such thing as a real estate emergency. It's banker's hours. And that was told to me by a former police officer turned real estate agent. There's no such thing as a real estate emergency. If there's an emergency, call 911 or please. Go to the ER. And that's the truth. We teach people how to treat us.
Yeah.
And so what's the point of all the homework? It comes at a cost. There was resentment. There's still, maybe there's dormant resentment I'm unaware of. I think I've resolved all of it. There was resentment in me, in some of those moments where, I remember falling asleep at night. I started working at Arby's at 14. I'd come home and do my homework. I remember falling asleep. And I remember waking up. Homework all spread out, lights all on. It's 2 a.m. Yeah. I'm 15 years old. That made me not want to do that.
Yeah.
Is this what it's about? For what? For what?
Yeah.
So, there are other alternatives. Kids are kids.
Yeah.
They have a lot of energy. To sit a kid in a desk for 8 hours a day.
You and I, my friend, are on
tell them to stand in line.
Same thing,
You can find plenty of people out there that'll say the school system mimics a prison.
Yeah.
Mimics industrial, Ford assembly line, late 1800s, early 1900s, industrial society. So are we training our kids for something, or are we letting them be kids? That being said, when it was come time to put my daughter in school, we were kind of going down that track, and then an opportunity presented itself. We found out about a Montessori school developed by Maria Montessori. And this is with the principles that kids are meant to be kids. They all learn at different levels and at different speeds, and they all have different interests. A kid tends to excel in the things that he or she loves.
Yeah.
If they love math and science, they're going to get A's in it. They're curious. They're reading extra books. They want to go study that stuff. If they're interested in economics or sports or anything like that, they're going to go do that.
Exactly.
Or the arts, and they're going to shy away from the other things, or they're going to maybe get B's or C's in that, where they're going to shine and get A's in the arts. And so with that understanding, and then things are more natural. There's an open classroom setting. High teacher to student ratio, just all these different things. They do yoga and meditation and sensory things. They don't have desks. They sit on mats. So it's a whole different way of school, of experiencing school.
Where's this at?
This one's outside of Seaford. It's called Sussex Montessori. And there's other Montessori schools all over the country.
Okay.
I think they're gaining in popularity. They've been around for a little while. They were developed decades ago.
There's like some sense of Buddhism in this, or
no, it's non-denominational, and in fact, they cover all of them, all the creation stories. I'm
stereotyping here in mats and yoga and stuff. So,
or
meditate. kind of stereotype.
No, there's a big Christian population there as well as some other. And no, it's not any. It's not a Christian school. It's not a Buddhist. Or
watch
Hindu
too much
school
White Lotus, I think.
No, none of that. It's just the principle that kids are kids.
Yeah,
let them be kids. And
I love it.
So they have 2 recesses a day. They have a morning and an afternoon.
Yep.
They have little work blocks. They're learning to count on an abacus, not a calculator.
Yeah.
It's my daughter loves to go to school.
Yeah.
She's excited to go to school.
That's awesome.
Now it's only been a couple of years of school.
Yeah.
Yet she gets up and gets excited to go to school. Coming off the holiday break when she got to sleep in, see her cousins, play all the time. She was less excited, and she was still excited to go back and see some of her classmates that she had missed for a while. And so, back to your question, what's important, and I think it's life.
Yeah.
It's experiencing life.
Uh-huh.
And the system that we've agreed to participate in, you and I and everybody watching, has gotten a little away from that. And these buzzword terms we've heard over the last decade or so about, work-life balance and finding myself and slowing down and finding space and reconnecting to source God are of such interest because we've lost them.
Yeah.
We grew up in the fastest, biggest me time, I think most of us could agree on. That's the 80s. It was all about more everything.
Yeah.
And so now back to that question you asked, or like I've been enjoying throwing at friends, family, and strangers alike is more what?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like less is more,
less
right? That's
more.
That's what I was trying to get at, and I completely agree.
Let's expand on that.
Well, I completely agree with you about the homework, and I also completely agree with you about we're forcing kids into boxes that their minds might naturally not. The source might be directing these kids in another direction, and we're trying to force them into a direction away from where the source wants them to go. And
this one just loves science, and we're trying to force languages or history or arts on them. Just let him or her, he or she, to spend
and then
time in the lab.
We're labeling these things ADD or whatever, and it's like no, the mind's wondering where the mind's taking the vehicle. Where it wants, the vehicle.
Where did ADD come from? Did we just have an ability to diagnose this at a new level since the 80s? Or have we introduced chemicals or frequencies into our atmosphere, our environment, epigenetics, whether it's cancer or something else? Could this be a frequency, a food, a societal-based environmental condition that has shown up?
That's a whole nother conversation. If we start getting on that, then we're blowing all our studio time. But we need to table that because that needs to be a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
I like
Earthing,
that question.
the documentary Earthing. If for homework, anybody in the meantime, Earthing.
Let's table that and go back into that on another episode. So if you guys keep following us, we will elaborate on that very subject, and I can't wait to get into it on another episode. But so back to what we were saying, less is more. My son, one of my sons, he's a wanderer, man. He's a wanderer, and his mind is. Everybody thinks his mind's everywhere but where it's supposed to be. But I'm like, no, his mind is his mind is where it needs to be. His mind's focused on what he wants to focus on. And I hate the fact that we are trying to governor these daydreamers, and we're trying to remove.
He's got a gift.
He has a gift, 100%.
His mind operates at a different level or speed or frequency than most, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm a wanderer. I'm sure you are too. I was a big daydreamer, but in daydreamers, in my opinion. We all daydream to an extent, but like what changes the world are those thoughts that might be outside of the boxes that they're trying to fit us in. It's like in the fact that you want to push this kid towards subjects or into things that and don't get me wrong, everybody has to do things in life that they want to do or that they don't want to do all the time. You gotta do certain things to survive. But
even if nothing existed, you'd still have to chop wood and carry water.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. But in my opinion, back to less is more, right? And homework. I'll use sports as an example, right? I think we are forcing these kids, we're overstimulating these kids all the time. We're adrenalizing them. And we are in a position now where these kids can't do anything.
If you ain't first, you're last.
If you're, yeah. Well, it's not just that. Like, these kids can't do anything unless you organize it. You know, like, it's like, to me, like, if you want them to play a sport, you have to organize a sport. They don't just go outside and run around and play like we did and play a pickup game.
2v2, 3v2.
Yeah, exactly.
3v3 tackling football in the street.
Yeah, like you have to organize it, and I think that's a problem in my opinion. But another thing is we also have a problem, and I don't know if you hear this, but I hear this a lot. Like, well, they're bored, so they're acting up. We don't want kids to be bored.
I tell my daughter boredom is good. She's repeating it now.
I'm telling you, we have to let these kids be bored. There's a lot.
Well, how come?
Some of the greatest ideas ever come from boredom.
How come? And how do you explain this to your kids?
Because that's where the creativity comes in. When you're bored and you have nothing to do, you start to naturally come up with new ideas, in my opinion, of something to do. That's when you get to create those creative juices flowing.
I agree.
You create your own games. I mean, every sport we play came from somebody that was bored. Every sport. Everything we do came from something.
It came from an idea. It was a piece of energy in somebody's mind that now is a multi-million-dollar business.
Exactly.
In some cases.
You know, and so the fact that we just want to be like, oh, well, you know, they're bored, so here, let's hand them the device so they can, you know, stimulate themselves so they're not as bored, because we want the devices to babysit them so we don't have to. And I'll be honest with you, we're as guilty of it as anybody. We're very guilty of it. You know, it's like I'm in the middle of working, because we do work from home more so than we ever have in existence. And so it's like, you know, if our kids aren't in school, how do we watch them, or, you know, while we're trying to work at the same time? And the easiest thing to do sometimes is just give them the device, and that is not good for them. You know, in my opinion, I don't say it's terrible always, but too much of anything's not good. So, where were you gonna say? You were gonna say something.
What are you doing when you give it to them? Like, what's physically happening to them, to you guys, when you give them this device? They turn it on, they get a surge of dopamine, chemical releases, like a hit of crack.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
They're giving them drugs. And same, you know, we have very limited time on her tablet, my daughter's tablet, and some pretty strict filters set up, yet she still gets it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to role play with you, because, you know, when they say I'm bored, what do? Do you cave? Do you toe a line? Do you set up some boundaries and parameters for, you know, how to behave? And then how do you explain to them, how do you show them the benefits? If you know the benefits of being bored, well, how do you explain it to somebody else so that they get it? Telling them, you know, you and me both are the same way, that if somebody tells us something, we're like, yeah, nah.
They don't ever.
We got to go figure it out.
They don't ever a lot of times say they're bored. They just start acting up, and then, you know, my wife would be like, "Oh, they're bored. They're bored." You know, and I'm like, "Well, let's let them be bored." You know, I like, and I tell them all the time, like, go be bored.
Yeah.
I'm bored. Go be bored. You know, or if, you know, like, why are you acting that way? Well, I have nothing to do. I'm like, go be bored. And then they'll be like, well, I want something to do. I'm like, and then I start giving them examples of how boredom was good for me, you know, years ago. I hated it. I didn't like being bored with nothing to do. But from those things, my cousin and I, who were together a lot, we came up with games. I remember one time you know, everybody probably played little roll up a tinfoil ball, and you play handball in the living room, and it's baseball. We made up a game where we took the 2-liter bottle and used the 2-liter bottle for a bat. And we played this game all the time. I remember making up a game in my pool one time called Power Polo that we played well into our 20s. And it was, I mean, dude, you talk about fun. This thing could be an Olympic sport. And it was like my friends and I, like, literally, like, battling with each other over this, like, pool game that we thought was, like, you know, American Gladiators, you know, and it was awesome. And that came from boredom. You know, I don't know. I think we need to let these kids be bored. I think we need to let them experience more on their own without us, following them, every little step, give them, a lot longer leashes. Cause I think, everybody's hovering, everybody now they have the 360 tracker or whatever it is, the Life 360. Have you seen all this? This is what, yeah. So there's like everybody, I guess, is connected to this Life 360 now.
Hey.
Well, I'm not.
Maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe
but it's more so for like teenagers and
what is it?
It's basically like everybody, like on your phone, I guess you would be connect, so where everybody, you can track where everybody is. So like if your kid's out and about,
how did we live without this stuff?
Exactly, you can track where they are at all times. You know what I mean? So they can't just say, hey, I'm staying over Wayne's tonight, and then
the kids these days even do that. Apparently, they have such lack of social skills that they can't even go hang out.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at.
We're locking, and this I won't get on my soapbox. Maybe I will.
But yeah, so I think like
digital tracking for teenagers.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's like called Life 360, and like they're all connected, and everybody I talk to is like it's the greatest thing. And I can't say that I won't use it. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like it's like
we're more connected than ever. Yet everybody feels more disconnected than ever. How is that?
It's wild, and I just don't know that it's helping these kids. I mean, you think about it, like
what makes you think that it is helping them?
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's hurting them.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, they can't do anything without mom and dad knowing right where they are. Mom and dad, why'd you stop? I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, if you're driving a car and it's like, I'm tracking. I'm sure there's some parents who are obsessed and they're looking at this thing every 5 seconds, and it's like, oh, well, why'd such and then they're calling you. Well, why'd you stop to get this? Why are you stopping there? How come you took so long there? It's like, man, you got to let these kids breathe. You got to let them experience life on their own. You got to let them fail. You have to.
So how do you do that?
Disconnect.
How do you do that?
How do we do it? We don't follow the same.
They're not on Life 360.
Well, right now, our kids are young, so they don't have phones.
Okay.
But I can't say that I won't do it. I don't know and that's a whole nother thing. The parents, there's so much pressure on parents today. Because, especially, I think moms more so than
from
even
who?
dads.
Where does this pressure come from?
Social media, dude.
I know.
It's
comparison is a thief of joy.
That's a great line. That's a great line.
Comparison is a thief of joy.
But you get on I think a lot of it is the moms, unfortunately, because
is it according to the Smiths or the Joneses down the street, or in accordance to God?
That's a good.
I mean, I spent like 2 years asking myself, what would Jesus do?
Well, the problem is
what would Jesus do? Would he put his kids on?
The problem is it's probably the Jones down the street, and the Jones down the street are trying to say that it's in accordance with God.
How? Show me how. I know.
I'm with you. I'm just saying that's probably, But anyhow, I feel like there's so much.
I'm protecting my flock as if they're my sheep.
But I feel like there's so much pressure, on. People, and it's not just moms, it's dads too, but you get online and you think that, okay, if I'm not doing this for my kid, that I'm failing them because such and such is showing me, how they sat up all night working on a science project, or they sat up all night working on homework, or exactly. It's like even goes back to like, I remember when we first
Are they happy? Did they enjoy that? Did they have fun doing that?
You and I are on the same page, my friend. Like we are totally on the same page.
So it sounds like these wives you're talking about are measuring themselves.
I wouldn't say just wives.
Or families. These husbands.
Yeah, husband-wise. I don't.
Parents.
Yeah.
These parents they're measuring sticks.
Yeah.
Their scoreboard is doing as good for their kids or having their kids have the exact same opportunities. Are the parents happy? Are they leading by example?
Exactly. And I don't think it's necessarily a scoreboard, but I think it's, they feel.
Call it whatever you want. I'm visual.
Yeah. They feel inadequate if
I see one point group put up a point because they got great science project.
You're right.
A+. The other one, it's like, I got to do better over here.
You're right. You're right.
Baking extra awesome cupcakes for Valentine's Day.
I see your point. No. You're right. Definitely a scoreboard. I digress on that. Yeah.
Us guys. I'll use a country farm drink. Whose dick's bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's better?
Exactly.
And it's just it's alpha. My friend, I hadn't heard this term ever before. Toxic femininity.
Yeah.
Has this toxic masculinity merged with some type of, toxic femininity where it's just alpha galore it's driving the kids to a place of depression and record number of SSRIs, record number of people on depression statins and just all these different things, as well as suicide.
Yeah.
And so it makes you wonder, how is the, top nation, wealthiest nation, not the healthiest?
Yeah.
And dealing with so many issues.
I'll tell you another thing too, another topic too, is probably a touchy subject. You look at everything that I won't touch on. All right. I think we have to teach kids, and to some degree, to learn to respect authority. I'm not saying they have to agree with authority, but to respect authority. And I think a big problem that we have, and it goes back to hovering and doing everything for your kids, are Johnny comes home from school. Johnny complains, oh, the teacher got mad at me, gave me detention today, yada, yada, yada. And the parent, in today's world, wants to run to the school and be like, I'll take care of that teacher. She's not going to talk to my kid that way, right? And then they call out the teacher for the discipline, right? And Johnny's like, oh, well, I can go to school tomorrow and act however I want because mommy or daddy's going to go and yell at the teacher for me, right? Now, I'm not saying the teacher's always right. I'm not saying that the authority's always right. But I think there's a better way to handle it effectively, and that is tell the kids, no matter what, okay, you're going to respect the teacher. You don't have to like them, but you're going to respect them, because when you grow up, you're not always going to get the coach you like. You're not always going to get the boss you like. You're not always going to get, people that you like. All right. You're going to have to learn to respect them and deal with them. And when you're in their classroom, you're going to have to respect that. Right. And then if you do have an issue with the teacher, go behind closed doors and have a conversation, on a congenial level, on a respectful level about what happened, understand it. And because if you do want to handle an issue with the authority, just do it without your kids seeing it, right? Because then the kid doesn't think that they have like this automatic permission from mommy and daddy to just, run rampant. And I think a lot of that has to do with what we're seeing in society today. I think a lot of people think that they can just, go out and do whatever they can.
Because they got away with it for so long.
And the problem is it's one thing if you're doing it in a classroom when you're younger and you're 5, 10 years old, whatever, and you're acting up and blowing spitballs or whatever. I don't know if the kids do that anymore, but whatever. But it's another thing when you get older and, like you just said, they've been able to do it for so long, and you start putting yourself in positions to disrespect authority that might cost you your life. It's just like in Minnesota, right? I don't think it was handled properly at all. If you ask me, like the guy the ICE officer did not need to shoot that guy. He didn't need to shoot him. I mean, in my opinion, I wasn't there on the scene.
Well, there were two weapons fired.
Yeah, I wasn't there on the scene, so I can't 100% that he didn't need to.
I don't know much about it.
But the optics that I saw, the guy looked like he was disarmed, detained. I don't think they needed to shoot him. But the problem I have was, why the fuck was that guy putting himself in that position anyhow? And you can say, oh, yeah, well, he was protecting that woman and all. And that's a very noble thing that he was protecting the woman. That's very noble of him. But why was she in that position? Why is anybody in that position?
Well, there's other ways to challenge or question authority than violence.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And these politicians are putting these people in, they're rolling the snowballs and letting the people throw the snowballs.
What's the easiest way to conquer and divide? Is the easiest way to rule.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways we can combat the divide and conquer is by teaching our kids to put themselves not to put themselves in the position, right? Not to put themselves in that position, and I really think teaching to respect authority to a degree, and unfortunately not all the authority is right. They're not. There's good cops, there's bad cops, there's good teachers, there's bad teachers.
Correct.
There's good and bad in every culture, but don't put yourself in the fucking position. Right? Like, just don't. There's other battles to win in life. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I think we can do for kids. I don't know. Does that make any sense to you or not? Like,
the one thing is to teach them not to put themselves in that position.
Teach them to be respectful of authority. Like, you don't have to, you know, like, and that mommy and daddy aren't always going to be there to get you out of your jams.
Yeah.
You know, mommy and daddy aren't always going to be there. So you need to learn, unfortunately, to act right based on whatever we think right is in this world nowadays.
Well, I think the authority has been lost in respect for some authority figures, and you got to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
If we don't understand why, then I don't know if we'll ever solve the problem. It's because, in my opinion, a lot of authority figures have shown that they don't know what to do with the power.
Yeah.
Or they're really not the expert, or their authority was by prescription, by title, and it was kind of given to them, yet it wasn't earned.
1,000% agree.
And so, in an era of truth and you know, light being shone on dark spaces and things, it's all coming to the surface.
Yeah.
And on a global scale, you know, our politicians, there's crooked politicians across party lines.
Yeah.
And you know, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
They're not the smartest people in power typically.
Yeah.
The smartest people are over here or over there doing other things. They just tend to be the most corruptible or yeah.
I think what I hear you're saying, and I think I fully agree with you, it's teach them how to challenge authority if that's what they want to do.
Yes, and effectively in a peaceful way. Ask questions. You know, putting yourself in a position like that is, you know, could lead to loss of life, right?
Exactly.
And maybe that's what you want. Maybe it's, you know.
Maybe that's what some people want. Maybe they don't value their life anyhow, and they're like, oh, man, that's a good way for me to go out. It can be, you know, some people might want that for their life, and that's
now. I want to touch on from that. I want to circle back around on something you mentioned with authority and respect for the future, for their bosses, et cetera. And I wanted to touch on this last week. It didn't really, you know, come up at any good opportune time, so I didn't. I watched this podcast.
Yeah.
This interview with Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Diary of a CEO.
Okay.
It was one of the best podcasts, one of the best interviews I've seen, watched, listened to in a while. It's on YouTube. It was pretty recent. And Tony talked about and touched on, and this is the first person I've heard on such a large scale with such a big following. Not just the Diary of a CEO podcast, Tony's as well. And this has been seen by millions of people now, even just on YouTube. I haven't checked the other places. Where I'm going with this is the one particular part that Tony, it was a tearjerker. He gets visually, he has a visceral response to this subject matter that I'm about to talk about, and that's human suffering around the future. We've touched on last week and today about bringing our kids up in this future. And what does this future look like? And not that this is wrong and this is not a critique of you, because, you know, the other side of it is very creative and we don't know. I hear you talking about a future that looks very reminiscent of today. Yeah. Of our childhood. Yeah. Of kind of everyday life for the last 100 years, 200, however many years. In this interview, Tony got upset because he, like me, doesn't think that's going to be much longer. I can understand that, especially in the artificial world we live in. Yeah, and that's where he went to it through an artificial intelligence lens. You've also got a great coupling or a convergence of a couple of different things between that, the monetary financial system, our $39 trillion in debt, and talking about our authority figures that just keep rolling this debt, yet in our personal lives we're told to save, we're told to do this, not that, yet why do we do that? It's about to implode. And with artificial intelligence and job loss, and that's most people's identity, what are they going to do for a living? Yeah. How are they going to identify their worth, their value as a man or a woman, you know, supporting their family? What if they can't support their family? Yeah. So there's some concepts that I just started researching, and that's late stage capitalism. And even more of interest is post-labor economics. Yeah. What do economics look like post-labor or industrial? Yeah. You'd almost have to have some kind of white-collar welfare or something like that. That's where Tony went with it. It's an interview worth watching. And everybody I sent it to said, "Wow, that was a real." I got really good feedback from those that did watch it. which are 4 or 5 people, and it's one I'll probably go back and revisit as well. That being said, so what kind of training are we giving our kids with that in mind? So I don't think that the way we grew up is, my daughter's getting a taste of that. I think it's changing. By her teens or her 20s, it's going to be a different world. I'm watching young family members of mine struggle coming out of high school and college into the workforce right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because of that, not finding a place or able to get the same traction that us or our parents were able to get in the 50s, 60s, 70s when they came into the world as an adult. And so with that framework in mind, what's important, more what, less is more. Well, if we don't have the money, the income, or the means to, or some of these systems are taken away, and we're in a bigger recession, depression than 2008 to 10, 11, which is what some of these people, like Peter Schiff, the famous economist, and Ray Dalio just said. This is all over the WEF event recently, World Economic Forum over there in Davos. It's a hot topic, and it's why a lot of reason why gold and silver are skyrocketing right now, because the confidence is gone in everything else, and that's been around for thousands of years.
I think honestly,
so what do we teach our kids?
I think you almost have to go backwards and look to a degree, because you're going to have to find work that the AI can't do, and a lot of that's trades.
There's robots that are going to do that too.
Yeah, but right now, I got
video of a robot building a house, pouring concrete. It's 3D printing a house.
I can see that, but I'm just saying,
with concrete,
like right in the, I guess more in the near future. In late future,
the next 5 to 10 years.
Next 5 to 10 years, we're gonna need a lot of tradespeople to do those, like
but
plumbing. That's the thing. I don't know. that's gonna be, finding that self-worth is gonna be very challenging.
Everybody's gonna be forced. It's gonna be a forced stop reckoning. For the peeling away all of the egoic things that we chase, the cars, the flash, the image stuff. If you don't have the money to cut your hair and to wear fine jewelry and perfume, and clothes are getting rat-a-tatter.
You're still going to need you're still going to need services to a degree. But again, will robots start cutting hair?
Well, what I'm talking about is identity things, things that people identify themselves with. Like, I'm always looking good. I'm always looking fresh. I'm always dressed nicer. I'm always driving this or doing that.
I think the most valuable thing we have is our ideas, personally.
The creative spark. I would agree. That's the one thing AI can't touch.
And you can't touch it.
You go down the AI or the alien or other conversations like that.
AI might be,
human spark.
AI might have more creativity. It may be better at creating, right? But it can't be you at creating. And nobody can take your ideas, no matter how great and perfect they are. I mean, they can't take your soul.
Well, who gave the soul the spark, and then somebody's got to give the AI a spark, right?
Yeah. So that's why, in my opinion, one of the reasons that I've been so big into content is to get my ideas and my thoughts out to the world, because I feel like ultimately that's what you leave the world.
And what if that's gone? What if we have the 100th monkey as the
it's true,
as a solar flare and cosmologists call it?
Yeah.
The solar flare that's Carrington event size, which go Google down that rabbit hole if you want. If that Carrington event happened today in modern times, we would be back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
Who could survive? How many people would survive if our currency system, our digital currency system, and our power grid was wiped out for 3 to 6 months?
So what do you think it is? What do you think the occupation or the identity of the future is?
Anything that has to do with the heart. And if you
how do you monetize that? I'm not saying money's everything, but how does and you're right where you're going with it is, this world of monetization might not be, the future world we live in.
You can't monetize.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How do you?
Money is an agreed upon fictitious thing.
It is, but in today's world, we still need. I agree. It's fictitious.
I'm on the train.
It's a fugazi, right? It is.
You can't touch it. It's not real. And so I got into real estate as investing.
So do you think I guess what I hear you saying is we're going to be living more on the bartered system. Like I'm going to be.
It's going to be about community.
Yeah.
It's going to go backwards to that.
So we're going to be trading. We're going to be trading services.
Less is more. We're going to be helping each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're just going to be helping each other.
Yeah, it'd be like Matt knows how to do this, or. But how? And I actually love. I think where your thought is going, and I think I'm starting to understand even better.
UBI might be a thing, and you might work for the extra.
But look.
Or barter for the extra.
So I think how we're going to be helping each other is kind of what we're doing on this podcast, and what the one word we both used for the beginning of the podcast was through therapy. Right? Because we're saying that in the future, robots are going to fix our plumbing and our electrical work.
Elon thinks there's going to be twice as many robots as people in like 10 years.
100% could believe that. We're going to be slaves to robots.
I don't know
about 10 years, but we're going to be slaves to robots at some point.
The 60 Minutes AI robotics thing from the Boston Robotics Conference a couple weeks ago. That was wild. It blew my mind.
I just hope we don't robot wash humans like we've whitewashed the American Indian.
It's a big fear of some people, and
we'll start removing.
No, it's a huge fear of some people, and it's not a world I live in. I think that I think everybody's waking up. We're in the middle of the Great Awakening. AI and robotics and the financial system and COVID are all things that shook people up. Different segments of society all woke up on their own in different things. Yeah. With different things, and it's all a farce, or some of these things that are broken. Let's fix them. We are more intelligent and have the ability with AI to solve so many problems now.
Yeah.
And so it's our opportunity, if we want it, to enter the golden age of human existence.
Yeah.
And so that's what I believe.
I think you're spot on, and what you have elaborated on is something that I didn't even think about as the type of services we would be trading. And it's not necessarily, hey, I make bread and you have cows and we're going to have a meal together. It's, man, like I need to go, talk to Matt, or I need to talk to, Johnny, because,
or hey, we need to get that field plowed manually by hand, and I've got some muscles. Yeah. It's going to rain Friday. It looks like rain. We need to get it done now.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that simple.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying, is we bartering. But I when I was hearing what I thought you were going with is it's going to be more of a therapy dynamic, because we're going to have robots doing all these services for us and plowing our fields and doing that. So, the bartering we're going to be doing is I'm going to trade, some of my, intellectual value to help get you through what you're getting, you're going through in your life, and you're going to, in turn, probably use some of what I need to help me get through what I'm going through, right? Does that make any sense?
It does. Now, you marry that with the Monroe Institute, Gateway Project, Stargate, remote viewing, and the docuseries, podcast series, Telepathy Tapes, and Dr. Diane Hennessy-Powell's work in that realm with a future of robotics. Well, then maybe there's a new level of consciousness that we operate on. It's a new baseline from where we are now, of fear of war. We got to blow each other up and force ourselves kinetically on each other in order to solve problems. We're way more advanced than that, and that's an old school, archaic way of thinking, and people are waking up to that.
Well, look, I'm obsessed with the full circle. I'm obsessed with a comedian goes all the way through his routine and brings it all the way back to the beginning. I'm obsessed when a movie, ends at the beginning. I'm obsessed with everything coming back around and connecting it. And it sounds like we have just made that full circle, because you've just gone right back into what we started talking about to begin with the Monroe Institute and all that stuff. Speaking of Monroe, my son's name is Monroe, so shout out to Monroe if he's watching this at some point in his existence. And shout out to my boy Mackie too, McCallan. So I don't want to leave him hanging either. But anyhow, it looks like we're probably going to wrap up today. For those of you who want to stick around, Wayne is going to lead us into meditation, as he does it after the credits of every show. And we hope you guys stick around. Again, wherever you are, wherever you may be listening, get yourself a nice quiet place, and let's go try to find that pinhole together. Let's try to see if we can get inside it today.
And before you do so, if you've hung around this long, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button.
That's right. Wayne's the only smart one that knows to tell you to like and subscribe. The only thing I like to end it with is if you tree your mind, the rest will follow. Hey, look, before you lead us in meditation, I want to tell you, great conversation today. You, especially when we talked about consciousness, is you really helped me understand that, I've always associated the soul and this, what we perceive as consciousness, as almost two separate things, when actually, because I've always said the soul is your recognition of consciousness, I never thought about just saying, well, shit, okay, then our consciousness is our soul, right? Essentially, right? So that kind of sucks, because I had that line that I actually wrote in my journal, that your soul is your recognition of consciousness. So now I don't know if that line holds as much weight as it used to, but I don't know.
We edit our belief system.
Yeah, but no, I'm like, I think you're right. I mean, either way, without the soul, you don't have awareness. Right. Okay.
Positive Intelligence, Dr. Shazar Shemaine. I'll share the book with you. It's a fun read. He breaks down the judge and the lower selves, so that you can kind of start to identify them, and then the sage, the higher self, and that awareness and that recognition tends to lead people into a place of higher connectivity or just mindfulness, where they slow down and can be present and more aware of things. So.
And look, I don't think that the subject of kids and how to raise kids in this world is going to end here. I'm pretty sure this is going to come up a lot more. We could have gone for 5 hours today, probably, on that subject.
Talk about it all the time, and I know I'm going to screw mine up somehow. I just don't know how yet.
I'm working on screwing mine up right now. Yeah, we're all screwed up. Like but
I love her to death, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, though.
Yeah. We could. There's no manual.
It's all from good intention.
But anyhow, take us into space, man. Let's journey.
We'll do a short, medium one here today. Give you a little more time for that pinhole to present itself, and sometimes it doesn't. So, don't get attached to that either. I did that for years, trying to get back to a certain place in meditation, and just ended up frustrated trying to get there. So, with that said, no expectations here. Everybody, go ahead and get in a comfortable position if you're not already. If you're driving and want to pull over, hit the pause button while you do so. You can do that at your house too, and when you're ready, get nice, comfortable, feet on flat on the ground. A couple of deeper, natural breaths on your own pace right now. Hands folded in your lap, flat on your knees, palms up or down, whichever feels right. Go with that. And we're just settling into our breath right now. Noticing the body, any points of tension or stiffness. And let's take a couple of deep breaths together. In through our nose, out through our mouth. Short inhale, long exhale. Counting if you'd like on the inhale when you're ready for 3. And holding. And then out, real slow, out, 5, 6. Let's do one more together. And out, nice and slow. As many more of those as you'd like or feel called to. We're just going to relax into our breath here as we notice the body. And breathing in, watching your breath come in through your nose, filling the lungs up before exiting. Breathing in all that's good. And letting out all that stress, tension, or any negative energy that might be stuck inside. Continuing at that breath at your leisure, at your own pace. Nice, soft, relaxed breath. And with each breath, we relax a little bit more, noticing our ears and forehead, eyes relaxing if they haven't done so already. And letting out all that stress, tension from the cheeks, the jawline, the neck, if it's still tense, letting it relax. Breathing in all that's good with each inhalation. And letting that stress, tension out now from the shoulders and the upper back, moving down the body, melting into our seat. And getting heavier and heavier with each breath as all the little tiny muscles in our head and face, ears, neck, and shoulders are now relaxed. Breathing in all that's good, all that good air and energy out there in the world. And letting that stress, tension, anything that's stuck in the back, letting it out with each breath now. Softening the spine, the shoulders, your arms down, letting the elbows relax, hands, forearms are getting heavier. Continuing to let all that negative energy out that might be lingering within. Breathing in all that positive energy from the universe with each breath. Feeling really heavy in our seat bones now, sinking deeper into the seat, and letting our muscles go in our legs. Letting the last bit of that tension out and release from any muscles that might still be holding on to their tension. Your legs may be feeling extra heavy. You might not even feel your feet at all. Your bottom is stuck in the seat. Everything down and relaxed. Breathing in all that's good, and watching the breath fill up the lungs, keeping that good energy coming in, any tension that may be lingering, letting it go with each breath out now. And do that for a minute here on your own. Watch your breath if you feel called to. Just enjoy the space and heaviness of the body. Whenever you're ready, we'll start to gently bring our awareness and attention back to the body. Maybe you wiggle some toes or wet your lips, touch your tongue to the roof of your mouth before moving any of your arms, fingers. And lastly, at your own pace and with no rush or urgency, letting some light in to your eyes. And feeling that positive energy and that light and love vibrating throughout, and all that tension, stress, anything negative, I trust has been lightened. could have gone forever there.
I could have too. Luckily we didn't, because I gotta get going. Gotta go to my son's got a basketball game today. But good show today. It was good stuff. Actually, it's funny. This time I didn't see a pinhole. You know what I saw?
What did you say?
An eye. A little tiny eye. It was like a little goldfish just swimming around in there, but it was an eye. It was fucking wild.
I wonder what would happen if you gave that eye some attention for another 5, 10, 20 minutes.
I don't know, man. Like, we made eye contact, though. I was like, somebody's watching me. Right? Yeah.
Maybe.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time. True your mind. Rest will follow.
Much love.